Hey, Shalom, Shalom. First and foremost, call Allah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. And of course, double honors go out to apostles, bishops, and elders, great millstone, who through the Holy Spirit continued to give us this truth. All right, this is Nama of the DC camp, and what we have here, boy, this is a beautiful title here. It says, Critical Race Theory is about to segregate America like an open-air prison yard. And the scripture I got right off the bat, Salaki Akim, got to go, because the thing is, all this truth is coming out and they can't handle it. You know, lies have been their refuge for the longest of times. But you can't do that no more. All right, this is Galatians 4 and 16. And it says, am I therefore become your enemy? Because I tell you the truth. And apparently so. All right. But we've always been enemies, and that's what a lot of people, our people, do not understand. And we have to talk about that big white elephant in the room, pun intended in this case, and that's that fucking Christianity with white Jesus. All right, I'll say it like they do. All right, because they just have made that, and that is their own. All right, that's not the God of, that's not our power. That's not the God of the Hebrews. That's their shit. All right, and that's just what it is, shit. But they have, what's the word I want to use here? Program would be one word, but they have conditioned our people. All right, that Christianity is it. You have no enemies. But if you take the time to notice, and I'm talking about you so-called Christians out there, nobody wants you around them. They don't want you certainly living amongst them. They don't even want you in the store with them. And yet, here you go out of your way to make these people feel comfortable, not understanding that that was a plot, that was a ploy that Christianed them, because 9 times out of 10, whatever they do to you, you've been conditioned to say, I forgive you. And what's so sad is you think that you're the one that's taking the high ground. You're taking the moral high ground. No, you're just a fucking idiot. And they know this. All right, so here we go. Critical race theory is about to segregate America like an open-air prison. All the things that they've done to us, all the things, all this information is coming to the forefront, and they can't handle it. The thing is, we know this because what's the big beef? It's not being taught in kindergarten through 12th grade, certainly. So what is the issue then? Again, the plain old ordinary truth. All the, well, you know, because they love to prop up, and since we're in this, I hate this month, because it's that Black History Month shit. They loved prop up Martin Luther King Jr. up there. Why? Because that lets them know that they don't have to, you know, there's no consequence to their actions. And we're telling them, oh, no. You're not getting away with this. In fact, the very Bible that you read tells you that you're not getting away with it. All right? You got a tall, hard road to toil. Trust you me, and you're not going to get away. Anyway, it says frightening, I'm reading the inset here, it says frightening parallels exist between the racialist logic of the prison yard and the racialist, I don't know that word there, of many public schools. And that's right. When new inmates arrive in California state prisons, I would argue any prison, but they're focusing on California, They pass through the gauntlet of other men and must make a quick decision. With whom do they stand? They have four options. The whites, so-called, they're the Edomites. The so-called blacks, which nobody's black. The Latinos, again, this is a name they put on them. All right, these are Israelites, these two here, and the others. And included in the others, because they're not included in the so-called blacks and so-called Latinos, would be the Native Americans. All right, they are also Israelites. So you have to figure out who you're gonna roll with. All right, a classic example of that in movies is Blood In, Blood Out. I wish everyone, if you never saw that, I think it was sometime in the early 90s that came out. That is a classic, prime example. All right. It says, for most of the fish or fresh convicts, it's not much of a choice. They are chosen. The prisons are divided into strictly separated racial gangs, which have their own leadership structure, lunch tables, yard space, and black markets. All right. And what's different out here? It says new inmates typically fall in with their racial brothers. Whites with whites, blacks with blacks, Latinos with Latinos. The only exceptions are those who join the others, a collection of smaller ethnic groups, sexual minorities, and whites who refuse to join the Aryan Brotherhood. California prison gangs operate on a model of collective identity-based security. If a white inmate attacks a black inmate or vice versa, their racial compatriots must fight to protect the group's interest. The threat of race war, they believe, is the only way to secure peace. The prisoners maintain separate facilities, sleeping quarters, and trade networks. An individual might not want to join his racial clique, but his survival depends on doing so. Courts have occasionally attempted to integrate prison facilities, but have never succeeded. Why? What, you mean Esau's mighty court system can't do? No, because they don't want to. This is in their best interest, all right? Especially when you're dealing with corrupt criminal justice system like we have here. All right, how do we know it's corrupt? 2.3 million motherfuckers in this country are behind bars. 25%, all right, of the world's prison population is in America. Think about that shit. It says prison wardens have accepted the racial reality and work in tacit cooperation with the gangs to maintain the status quo. All right. And that, what I said just a moment ago about, I gave you the numbers there, and that's because this is structured to keep the Israelites in check. Jake, all right, that's how it was. You got to remember, the Emancipation Proclamation, so-called, you got down in Texas, they waited to tell those people they were free an extra 2 years. All right, that free labor. So what are we gonna do now? And make no mistake, emancipate does not mean free. All right, let's get that out in the open. All that was, we were transferred from private ownership and we became wards of the state or government. All right, that's it. That's why you got to have all these special permissions, why we got to have the Voters Registration Act, because we're not, and still not free. All right, we never were. We were brought over here to serve slavery, and we still are slaves. You ever wonder why other immigrants come over here and they get over above us? That's part of the curses. Let's go there real quick. All right, and these identify Israel, and it even says that in here where I'm going. This is Deuteronomy 28. Let me read the one. It says, and it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Most High Yahweh thy power, to observe and to do all his commandments which I commanded this day, that the Most High Yahweh thy power will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. Think of Deuteronomy 7 and 6, all right? We're supposed to be separated and above these other nations, all right? And it even tells you in Deuteronomy 4th chapter, hold on, about these statutes, hold on, how we were supposed to, here it is, verse 5, it says, behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Most High Yahweh, my power, this is Moses talking here, commanded me that ye should do so in the land whether ye go to possess it. All right? There's plenty of warnings. We will not take on the characteristics or uh, um, customs of our enemies. But what do? 6, it says, keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations. Now that doesn't sound like equality to me. All right. Which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. Now, isn't it ironic that everybody wants to cleave onto this except for the people that it's for? You tell Jake, you're an Israelite. What? Nah. I remember, was it last year? During the summer? I believe it was, down in Elder Manatazakba, down in South Carolina. They had a group of about 7 or 8 Jakes that passed by him, by the camp. And he was trying to tell them, who they really were, that they were Israelites. And it went on for several minutes, and this one Jake, he said, nah, I'm a nigger. Yeah. But everybody else thinks they're the Most High's children. That's a damn shame, but that's the curses. Now let's go back to Deuteronomy 28 to make my point. These curses, let me skip down to 15. It says, but it shall come to pass if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Most High Yahweh thy power, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I commanded thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field. No matter where you go on this planet, these curses are going to cleave unto you. Cursed shall be thy basket and thy store. You're not going to profit. You were not meant to prosper here, all right? It's going to, Haggai 1 and 6, right? Your pockets are full of holes, all right? That's what it seems like because, again, you're cursed. Now let's go down here for time's sake. This is 43. It says, the stranger, remember I talked about the immigrants? The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. And these motherfucking so-called white people, these Edomites, you look in Jake neighborhoods, who's owning all the stores? Who do you have to go to? And again, this is in this, what I'm getting to here in the next couple of verses. This is why. All right, we turned our backs. All right, and there will be a civil war here. That's why that article is leading into. All right, things are going to come to a head. All right, because listen, these Edomites, these so-called white people, they're not used to be living like this. All right, they're used to watching us struggle and try to survive. All right. Verse 45, moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee and shall pursue thee and overtake thee till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Most High Yahweh thy power, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. Oh, they'll break their back trying to keep Esau's little laws and statutes and commandments, but they don't want to do what the Most High said. All right, and since I'm in that, let's go to Acts. All right, let's go to Acts, let's see, that's 5, I believe. Let's go to Acts 5. All right, what did these disciples / apostles do? All right, they were told not to preach and use the Most High's real name, right? Under penalty of what? Getting the beat down. But what did they do? They kept on. It says, 28, saying, did not we straitly command you that you should not teach in this name? And behold, ye have filled Jerusalem with your doctrine, and intend to bring this man's blood upon us. Then Peter and the other apostles answered and said, we ought to obey the Most High rather than men. Mm, mm, mm. Mm. Mm, mm, mm. Now let's finish up at Deuteronomy, and I'll go back to the article. All right, so we know these curses. They said it would cleave to us, all right, because we didn't do what, all right? Now, 46, and they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. And see, for those of you that are watching this and just getting into this for the first time, those people that say they are Jews over there, are they going through this? Are they going through these things? They own all the banks. Hell, they own everything. And yet, they try to play the victim too. It don't work that way. It's common sense. All right, but anyway, and they're behind all this legislation with these, since they're mentioning prisons here, it's them too, because what? They got to keep us in check. See, there were specific people targeted in West Africa. A lot of you were never told this and probably haven't figured it out yet. Otherwise, you would have had all kinds of Cushites and everything else all up in the mix. All right, a lot of you never thought to look at it that way, but that's a fact. He said, I spent 3 years directing a documentary about life in America's 3 poorest cities, including Stockton, California, which is some of the highest crime and incarceration rates in the country. Stockton is a case study in America's diverse racial future. It is approximately 1/4 white, 1/4 black, 1/4 Latino, and 1/4 Asian. In the city's daily activities, the racial groups generally cooperate and go about their business together. All right? But the prisons and jails that surround the city, the divide is stark. All right? Inmates are subsumed into their racial group. Enmity between the races is the assumed condition. And you have to understand that some of these COs in there, all right, they encourage this. All right, because they got baggage too. And for the most part, I'm talking about them fucking white supremacist bastards. I'm talking about Esau, Edom. All right? They stir and stoke shit. All right? It says, a few years after making the film, I began studying critical race theory and racialist ideologies that are becoming entrenched in American schools. Though the comparison is provocative, frightening parallels exist between the racialist logic of the prison yard and the racialist, I don't know that word, of many public schools. First, schools that have adopted critical race theory reject individualism. And again, I don't know any I don't know of any schools that have adopted critical race theory. See, they're in panic mode because, again, the truth has come out on the shit that they've done, and they're trying to distance them, but it can't. It's like, you know, you got this goo all over you, and you just can't get it all. You can't get it off. It's just bothers the hell out of you. All right. And good form, because Habakkuk's 2nd chapter says what? Shame. All right. Let's get it real quick. This is something they can't escape. And this is how, of course, I'm going by the scriptures here. This is how this was set up to be. Thou art filled with shame. This is Habakkuk 2:16. Thou art filled with shameful glory. See, you went throughout all the world telling people and trying to show people how righteous you were. The white man can't do anything wrong. He, if there is a God, he looks like him. All that shit. Everybody believed your shit. Even you. But you knew it was all a lie. This is all to cover up the fact that you're a no good piece of shit. Now everybody's seeing you for what you truly are. Again, Habakkuk 2:16, thou art filled with shameful glory. Drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of the Lord's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be upon thy glory. Isaiah 47th chapter. Jeremiah 49th chapter. All these things and plenty of others. All right, people like, damn. And all the time you telling me, going all over the world talking about Negroes are lazy. You don't want to work. They'll never succeed. They're what do you call them? They're natural sinkers or some shit like that. No. thing is, you were always behind the scenes ensuring that Jake would fail. All these cities that we built to try to get away from your motherfucking ass, all right, out of jealousy and envy, what did you do? You burnt them down, you submerged them under lakes and other bodies of water, all right, in order to promote that bullshit. Well, nah, like I say, they're lazy and, they don't want to work, they're shiftless and all this other shit. Nah, mm-mm. People are finding out what you did and what you continue to do. All right. But this, at the end, he's talking about people working together. No. This place is done. And rightfully so. You know. I'm thinking of when we talk about our people and these Edomites, Luke 16th chapter, where it talks about, let me get it real quick. It's never going to work. Oops. Wait a minute. Where it's talking about Lazarus, they're talking about making a comparison and say, you have enjoyed good things. I'm paraphrasing. Let me get it here. Here it is. Luke 16 and 19, there was a certain rich man which was clothed in purple and fine linen and fared sumptuously every day. Who was that in purple? What does purple represent? All right. This is Esau Edom, all right? And there was a certain beggar named Lazarus, which was laid at his gate full of sores, and desiring to be fed with the crumbs which fell from the rich man's table. That's all we get here. All right, crumbs. Those that do get a little something because they've sold out or whatever have you, done some things to some really unsavory things to get where they are, all right, it doesn't last long. He says, and desiring to be fed with the crumbs which fell from the rich man's table, moreover, the dogs came and licked his sores. That represents the other nations, all right? They come after us and devour us, all right? Like I mentioned earlier about the people in our neighborhoods, these immigrants that come in. What? We can't build any wealth. They take the money out of the neighborhoods and into their own neighborhoods, out in the suburbs, all right? What is that, the rule of 72? It's been so long, I forget something like that. Anyway, it says 22, and it came to pass that the beggar died and was carried by the angels into Abraham's bosom. The rich man also died and was buried. And in hell, he lifted up his eyes, meaning it was in the condition that he was in when he comes back, and that's Esau Edom. All right? He's going to come back and do hardcore slavery. All right, there's a divide between us, and it's going to get into that. It says, being in torments, and seeth Abraham afar off, and Lazarus in his bosom. Meaning it's going to be, what was that movie, Trading Places? Prime example. All right. And he cried and said, Father Abraham, have mercy on me, and send Lazarus that he may dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am tormented in this flame. But Abraham said, Son, remember that thou in thy lifetime receivest thy good things, and likewise Lazarus evil things. But now he is comforted, and thou art tormented. And these motherfuckers, they may not know the particulars, but they sense that their shit is ending, all right, and that they just might have to pay for all the bullshit that they've done to us. They're being tortured, all right, or they can't get away from that. Hey, so with that, I hope whoever views this is edified. Again, this has been Critical Race Theory is about to segregate America like an open-air prison yard. Truth is so powerful, so powerful. And that's the beautiful thing about this. We're not out here with, strapped and with gats and, whatever you want to use to describe weapons, firearms, whatever have you. We don't do that. Why? Because we were commanded not to. Let's get Zephaniah 3 and 8. And besides, that's Esau's blessing. That's carnal. It says, therefore wait ye upon me, saith the Lord. That's a commandment. until the day that I rise up to the prey, for my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them mine indignation, even all my fierce anger, for all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. Mm. Mm. But in the meantime, here's what we do. This is Hosea 5 and 6. He says, whoops, next one, 6 and 5. It says, therefore have I hewed them. What is the hew? It means to chop up. I have hewed them by the prophets. I have slain them by the words of my mouth. And thy judgments are as the light that goeth forth. That's all we're doing. All right, let me finish it with this. And by doing this, this is what we're also doing. This is 2 Corinthians 10 and 4. It says, for the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, as opposed to who? Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. This is why he was given the blessing of the sword. All his weaponry advanced. Everybody has to come to him to learn these things, because that's his blessing. All right. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through the Most High to the pulling down of strongholds. 5. Casting down imaginations, i.e. lies, and everything that exalted itself against the knowledge of the Most High, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Hamashiach Yahushua. There you go. Hey, so with that, hey, Shalom.